He arrived in America at age 9, a poor Jewish immigrant who couldn't speak English. He never carried a gun, never personally killed anyone, and avoided violence whenever possible. Yet the FBI called him the most dangerous mobster in America. At his peak, Meyer Lansky controlled an estimated $300 million criminal empire through pure financial genius. This is the true story of the mob's accountant. Meyer Lansky didn't fit the gangster stereotype. While associates like Bugsy Siegel and Lucky Luciano used violence and intimidation, Lansky used accounting ledgers and offshore bank accounts. He pioneered money laundering, created the skim operation in Las Vegas casinos, and built financial networks the FBI couldn't penetrate for decades. His methods were so sophisticated that modern financial crimes still use principles Lansky invented. He proved intelligence could beat brutality and organized crime. Meyer Lansky was born Meyer Sokoljansky on July 4, 1902 in Grodno, Russian Empire, now Belarus. His family was Jewish, living in poverty under constant threat of pogroms, violent attacks on Jewish communities. In 1911, when Meyer was 9 years old, his family immigrated to America, settling on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. The Lower East Side was desperately poor. Families lived in cramped tenements with no heat or plumbing. Meyer's father worked as a garment presser, earning minimal wages. His mother took in laundry. Meyer attended school but also worked from age 10, helping support the family. He was small, only 5 feet 4 inches as an adult, and physically weak, making him a target for bullies. Meyer discovered he had 2 talents: mathematics and strategic thinking. He could calculate complex numbers in his head instantly. He understood probability and odds intuitively. And he saw patterns others missed: how systems worked, where vulnerabilities existed, how to exploit inefficiencies. As a teenager, Meyer worked as a tool and die maker apprentice, earning $6 per week, about $180 today. But he saw that legal work would never make him wealthy. The real money on the Lower East Side came from gambling, loan sharking, and protection rackets. Meyer started running craps games in alleys, using his mathematical ability to ensure the house always won over time. In 1918, at age 16, Meyer met Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, a violent young criminal who would become his lifelong partner. They were opposites. Siegel was impulsive, violent, and charismatic. Lansky was calculated, strategic, and quiet. But they complemented each other perfectly. Siegel provided muscle and intimidation. Lansky provided planning and financial management. Together with other young criminals, including Charles Lucky Luciano, they formed a gang running gambling operations, bootlegging, and protection rackets. But Lansky was always different. He read newspapers obsessively, studied legitimate business practices, and treated crime like a business requiring accounting, planning, and management. The 18th Amendment prohibiting alcohol took effect in January 1920. Prohibition created the largest black market in American history. Millions of Americans wanted alcohol, creating enormous profit opportunities for anyone willing to break the law. Meyer Lansky saw the opportunity immediately. Lansky and Siegel partnered with Italian mobster Lucky Luciano to smuggle whiskey from Canada and rum from the Caribbean. But Lansky's contribution wasn't muscle, it was logistics and finance. He organized shipping routes, bribed customs officials, established distribution networks, and created accounting systems tracking inventory and profits. Lansky pioneered the layering technique for hiding money, moving cash through multiple bank accounts and shell companies to obscure its criminal origin. He opened accounts under false names, used legitimate businesses as fronts, and invested profits in real estate and stocks. This was money laundering before the term existed. By 1925, Lansky's operations were generating approximately $10 million annually, about $175 million today. His share was approximately $1 million per year. At age 23, Lansky was a millionaire, extraordinarily wealthy for someone who'd arrived in America unable to speak English just 14 years earlier. But Lansky understood that violence between competing gangs was inefficient and drew law enforcement attention. In 1929, Luciano, Lansky, and other major criminals held a series of meetings culminating in the Atlantic City Conference, organized crime's first national summit. Lansky pushed for creating the Commission, a governing body coordinating criminal enterprises and resolving disputes without violence. The commission became Organized Crimes Board of Directors. Lansky wasn't chairman. That was Luciano, and later other Italian bosses. But Lansky was the financial advisor everyone trusted. He kept books, invested profits, and created systems ensuring everyone got paid fairly. His nickname, the mob's accountant, came from this role. Prohibition ended in 1933, eliminating bootlegging profits. Lansky needed new revenue streams. He focused on gambling, which remained illegal in most states but was enormously popular and profitable. In the 1930s and 1940s, Lansky operated illegal casinos across America: Florida, New York, New Jersey, Louisiana. But his real innovation was Cuba. Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista welcomed American mobsters, allowing casinos to operate openly in Havana in exchange for bribes. Lansky paid Batista millions annually for protection. Lansky opened several casinos in Havana, including the Hotel Nacional and the Riviera. These weren't backroom gambling dens. They were luxurious resorts attracting wealthy Americans and international tourists. The casinos were spectacularly profitable, generating millions in revenue. Lansky invented the skim operation in Cuba before perfecting it in Las Vegas. The skim worked like this. Casinos reported only a fraction of actual gambling revenue to the government and partners. The unreported cash, the skim, was divided among mobsters. Since gambling revenue was cash-based and difficult to track, skimming was nearly impossible to detect. For example, if a casino generated $10 million in gambling revenue, Lansky might report only $6 million officially. The $4 million skim was split among partners, with Lansky taking his percentage as the organizer. This tax-free income made casinos extraordinarily lucrative. Lansky also pioneered offshore banking. He opened accounts in Switzerland and numbered accounts in Caribbean banks where American authorities couldn't access records. He moved money through multiple countries, Cuba to Switzerland to Panama to the Bahamas, creating paper trails so complex that investigators couldn't follow them. By the late 1950s, Lansky's Cuban operations were generating an estimated $20 to $30 million annually. His personal wealth was estimated at $100 to $200 million, approximately. $1 to $2 billion today. He lived modestly in Miami Beach, driving ordinary cars and living in a middle-class house, but controlled one of the largest criminal fortunes in America. In 1946, Lansky's partner Bugsy Siegel opened the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas with Lansky's financial backing and planning. The Flamingo lost money initially, and Siegel was murdered in 1947, likely by mob associates angry about cost overruns. But the casino eventually became profitable, proving Las Vegas' potential. Lansky recognized that Nevada's legal gambling created unique opportunities. In Cuba, operations depended on Batista's protection. In Las Vegas, casinos operated legally, making them more stable and harder for authorities to shut down. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Lansky invested in multiple Las Vegas casinos including the Thunderbird, the Sands, the Fremont, and the Stardust. He rarely owned casinos directly. Instead, he provided financing, installed managers, and received percentages of profits. This structure insulated him from prosecution while ensuring steady income. Lansky perfected the skim operation in Las Vegas. Casino counting rooms had two sets of books, official records showing moderate profits and secret records tracking actual revenue. The difference was the skim, divided among mob investors. At its peak in the 1960s, Las Vegas casinos were skimming an estimated $50 to $100 million annually, with Lansky receiving substantial percentages. Lansky also developed the junket system, bringing high rollers to Las Vegas on all expenses-paid trips. These wealthy gamblers would lose millions at casino tables, generating enormous profits. Lansky used his international connections to bring wealthy foreigners to Las Vegas, expanding the customer base globally. The FBI estimated Lansky's Las Vegas interests generated $20 to $40 million annually for him personally during the 1960s. Combined with interests in Florida, the Bahamas, and offshore investments, Lansky's annual income exceeded $50 million, about $500 million today. Despite decades of criminal activity, Meyer Lansky was rarely arrested and never convicted of serious crimes. His financial sophistication made prosecution nearly impossible. He never met criminal associates in person if possible, communicating through intermediaries. He never discussed business on phones he suspected were tapped. He kept no written records authorities could seize. But in 1970, Lansky faced his greatest threat. The IRS charged him with tax evasion, claiming he'd hidden millions in unreported income. The investigation focused on Lansky's Swiss bank accounts and offshore holdings. Prosecutors believed they could finally prove Lansky controlled a massive criminal fortune. In 1970, at age 68, Lansky fled to Israel, claiming Israeli citizenship under the law of return which granted citizenship to any Jew immigrating to Israel. Lansky believed Israel wouldn't extradite him to the United States. He was wrong. After 2 years of legal battles, Israel deported Lansky in 1972. He tried entering Switzerland, Paraguay, and other countries, but all refused him. He eventually returned to Miami Beach, where he was arrested immediately. The 1973 tax evasion trial became one of the most publicized mob prosecutions in history. Prosecutors presented evidence of Lansky's Swiss bank accounts and Caribbean holdings. But Lansky's lawyers argued the government couldn't prove the money came from illegal activities. Swiss banking secrecy laws prevented prosecutors from accessing complete records. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury acquitted Lansky on all charges. The government couldn't prove beyond reasonable doubt that Lansky controlled the offshore accounts or that money in those accounts came from criminal enterprises. Lansky's financial networks were so sophisticated that even with years of investigation, prosecutors couldn't penetrate them. After his acquittal, Meyer Lansky lived quietly in Miami Beach. He was 71 years old, wealthy beyond measure but also isolated. The Cuban Revolution in 1959 had confiscated his Havana casinos. Fidel Castro seized all mob properties without compensation, costing Lansky an estimated $20 million in lost assets and future earnings. In Las Vegas, new corporate ownership was replacing mob control. Howard Hughes bought several mob-controlled casinos in the late 1960s. Other corporations followed. The skim operations Lansky pioneered were becoming impossible as corporate accounting and regulation increased. The golden age of mob-controlled casinos was ending. Lansky's old associates were dying or imprisoned. Luciano had died in 1962. Siegel was murdered in 1947. Frank Koslow died in 1973. The mob landscape was changing, with younger, more violent criminals replacing Lansky's generation. In his final years, Lansky met occasionally with FBI agents who still tried to understand his financial networks. He gave them nothing. He never admitted to criminal activity. When asked about his wealth, Lansky claimed he was nearly broke, living on Social Security and small savings. This was obvious fiction. Lansky owned property in Miami, had investments worldwide, and lived comfortably, but prosecutors couldn't prove otherwise. Meyer Lansky died on January 15, 1983, at age 80 from lung cancer. He died at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami Beach. Approximately 200 people attended his funeral, far fewer than the thousands who attended funerals of flashier mobsters like John Gotti. When Lansky's estate was settled, official records showed assets of approximately $57,000, a laughably low figure for someone the FBI believed controlled hundreds of millions. The truth was that Lansky's wealth was hidden in offshore accounts, foreign investments, and financial instruments his family accessed through lawyers and intermediaries. The FBI estimated Lansky's actual wealth at death was $300 to $400 million, approximately $900 million, $1.2 billion in 2024 dollars. Meyer Lansky pioneered financial techniques that transformed organized crime. Before Lansky, mobsters were crude criminals who hid cash in mattresses and buried money. Lansky introduced sophisticated banking, offshore accounts, shell corporations, and money laundering networks. His innovations became standard practice. Every modern criminal enterprise, drug cartels, human trafficking networks, terrorist organizations, uses money laundering techniques Lansky pioneered. His offshore banking networks, layering transactions, and shell company structures are now fundamental to financial crimes. Lansky also proved intelligence could equal violence in organized crime. While contemporaries like Al Capone used brutality and ended up imprisoned or dead, Lansky used accounting and died wealthy and free. He understood that avoiding prosecution mattered more than territorial control or reputation. His modesty was strategic. Flashy mobsters like John Gotti attracted FBI attention and public outrage, making prosecution politically necessary. Lansky lived quietly, avoided publicity, and never gave authorities reasons to prioritize him. This low profile protected him for decades. Lansky's relationship with law enforcement was complex. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover personally called Lansky the most dangerous mobster in America because Lansky's financial sophistication made prosecution nearly impossible. Hoover respected and feared Lansky's intelligence. Today, money laundering is estimated to involve $2 to $4 trillion annually worldwide. Anti-money laundering laws exist specifically to combat techniques Lansky invented. The Bank Secrecy Act, RICO statutes, and international financial cooperation agreements all target the networks Lansky pioneered. Meyer Lansky arrived in America at age 9, a poor Jewish immigrant from Belarus who couldn't speak English. He never went to college. He never held a legal job after age 16. He stood 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 140 pounds. He never carried a gun and avoided violence whenever possible. Yet the FBI called him the most dangerous mobster in America. At his peak, Lansky controlled an estimated $300 million criminal empire. He pioneered money laundering, created the casino skim operation, built offshore banking networks, and developed financial techniques still used by criminals worldwide. His secret was treating crime like a business requiring accounting, planning, and financial management. While associates used violence and intimidation, Lansky used ledgers and bank accounts. He understood that controlling money was more powerful than controlling territory, that offshore accounts were safer than guns, that intelligence beat brutality. Lansky was prosecuted once for tax evasion and acquitted. He died at age 80, wealthy and free, while flashier mobsters died young or spent decades in prison. His estate showed $57,000 in assets. The FBI estimated his actual wealth at $300 to $400 million hidden in accounts investigators never found. The poor immigrant who couldn't speak English became organized crime's financial genius by seeing what others missed: that in America, controlling money meant controlling power, and that the best criminals never looked like criminals at all.